Hey there everybody, it is Tara from Healing Adventures, where we inspire, motivate, and activate your truth, your passion, and your mission on this planet. So thank you so much for stopping by our channel. Today we are actually going to be doing yet another interview, so I'm really excited, but I just wanted to do this quick little introduction to the interview and then get you right over to it. So if you're new to this channel, thank you so much for stopping by. And if you love the content and what we're up to, definitely subscribe. Hit the like button and share it with friends who may be interested. Those of you who are my subscribers and have been with the channel since the beginning, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much, because I could not be on this journey without you. So thank you so much. Now, today's interview is rather cool. If you saw our very first interview with Alisha Hall, which was just an extraordinary interview, and I got lots of great feedback and comments, and that interview really inspired so many people. So I'm excited that people really enjoyed it. Now, her and her husband and her children are back here in Austin, Texas for a very brief time because they are moving their family to Costa Rica. And I had this light bulb moment where I thought, oh my gosh, I want to interview her husband. I want to interview David because I really want to get his perspective. But what we really started to talk about was conscious relationships. And so some of the things, I want to share some of the things that you'll be hearing about in this interview and some of the things that he was going over. We definitely talked about conscious parenting and really the shifts and the transitions that all of us have had to make around that. Also redefining happiness and poverty mindset. So you'll hear more about that in the interview. One of my favorite pieces that he talks about is his pivotal moment when he was learning how to be led by. So I'm just going to leave you with that. Not going to go into anything more. You'll hear it in the video. So it's an extraordinary interview. I hope you enjoy it. Go ahead and check it out, and I'll catch you at the end. So today we're talking about conscious relationships, and I wanted to really look at the perspective. As many of you know, I recently interviewed David's wife, Alisha, last week, which was awesome. Thank you. And so now I have the honor and the pleasure of interviewing David. I had this aha moment where, because they are both here right now, because they have not yet gone back to Costa Rica, I really wanted to get the perspective from his side. And I started hearing it from the place of conscious relationships, like their journey together. And as she was having her spiritual awakenings, what was happening over here with him? And I think, as we heard when she spoke in that last interview, she had really opened up and started and began sharing it with him. And so I wanted to hear from his perspective. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you, too, for taking the time to do this, because it's awesome. Thank you. What has the journey been like for him? And we were also, as we were walking over here, we were talking about, when we live in, and I can really only speak for America, I cannot speak for all countries, but when we are born in this country, men, you guys are to be men, men. And then when they get married, well, you were to provide and you were to do all these things. We started looking at that and talking about how all of these imposed conditions, these imposed thought forms, all of this conditioning from our childhood up, like how that affects us and how it affects choices we make. So yeah, I just want to open it up to that and really get, what are you hearing for yourself? And really, what was your journey? Because you guys went from the corporate space, you were working at Dell, you go from the corporate space, you create a business, you then say, we're going to go on vacation. Oh, wait, screw vacation. We're just going to live here. Take me through what that's... I know, there's so much happening.
Keep me on. There was a point in our lives where, and I'll kind of fast forward at least to that point, because I believe that's where most of my growth occurred, is when we started really connecting on, I would say, a non-domesticated world where, like, you go to work, you come home, you watch your TV, you cook your dinner, you're like in that family identity.
Right.
When we started detaching from family identity, when like our kids would go to bed, and we just sat and talked, like truly connected and had deep conversations about life, and it exceeded career and it exceeded parenting. And once it started going past that, I was kind of forced to open my eyes a little bit, right? Because I was constantly in like reading the leadership books and the entrepreneur books, and whether it's speaking or presenting or creating business opportunity, like my mindset was so in that achievement mode.
And what were you doing? So what was your role at Dell, and who was David at this time?
David the Dell guy.
David the Dell guy.
No, I worked on Dell.com my last 4 years there. I was a campaign manager, so managed whether it be monthly campaigns, holiday, seasonal campaigns, much of the integration of the content to the site. So from development where someone writes something out to the pricing, so kind of boring, geeky, like corporate stuff. It was fun working on the website because you make a change and you see it, and that was kind of some cool stuff. But I did that, and that's kind of my last gig in the corporate world. I started to feel like this feeling, I think I was talking to you last time, is that you get this like tightness and anxiousness in your chest, in your heart, like in your head. You're constantly like gripping. And I noticed that feeling more and more as I got older, more and more as I had more children and more responsibility. And
what do you think the cause of that gripping, like what was actually occurring in your body?
I feel like we are trying to control the situation.
Everything.
Our spirit's telling us flow, just flow like water. And we're like, nope, I got to control my day.
Yeah.
I've got to control the schedule.
This way. It's got to look like this.
Yep. And we just stack more and more on there.
And this is what we do. And then I make you breakfast, and then I do this, and I do this, and I do this, and get back in line. Yes. Oh my God. Yep. And with kids.
Oh my gosh. And then they can become an excuse, right? Like you can blame everything on your kids.
Yes.
And I feel like that was another part of growth, is that when you start to look at your children as an equal, as a peer, not as I own them or I'm above them or I'm bigger and stronger and it's my word and they don't have a say. I think that's kind of an old generation of parenting in that sense. Is that was part of working with Alisha, and those deep conversations, I would come to her struggling like, I don't know how, I feel like I'm a terrible parent right now. Like, I don't know how to connect with my 9-10-year-old boy.
Right.
Like, he's going through emotions that, like, I didn't have anybody talk to me about.
Right.
So it started with conversations, like, about conscious parenting. How can I improve, right? And the more I started connecting with that is when I started getting into the paradigm of masculinity, like what you introduced before. And I was like, oh, my gosh, there's endless opportunities of learning and growth.
And what David's referring to is we were talking about how, again, in this country, men are born into this stigma of masculinity, and then also how women have become more masculine, men have become more feminine. I don't even want to say feminine as more as it's emasculated, and so there's this imbalance. So I know you just said a bunch in what you shared, but I want to go back to conscious parenting, and you brought up a really good point where I know when I was raised, and I was raised in the 70s, and, children were to be seen and not heard. We had no voice. We were completely dominated either by physical abuse, some form of you are less than. And so many people today say, well, what is it with these new kids? And they're so entitled. And I don't even like to say that they're entitled, but we gave them a voice. What did you find your biggest struggle in that conscious parenting when you would come to Alisha? Because again, this is conscious relationships. It's not just your relationship with your partner. These are relationships in your household. You've got kids, you've got partners, you've got roommates. I mean, we are a new paradigm of people.
That's really good. I think you and I were parented very similar. And I think when we try to parent our children that way, it doesn't work at all.
They either laugh at us or look at us like,
it doesn't work.
Yo, what are you doing?
Exactly. they do have their voice, and then your ego and pride are like, did they just say that?
Yes.
Really?
Right?
Man, my dad would have given me a boom in the mouth.
Oh yeah, knocked across the room.
No way.
Not even.
It was that fear-based parenting, honestly.
Yes.
I have a shirt that says equality. That would have been really relevant, because in that sense, we are looking down on our children.
Yes.
Like, we control everything, and we don't. Really, we just control their safety while they're with us. We provide for them when they can't provide for themselves. And
food, clothing, shelter.
Yep, and love is the most important thing.
Love, and that's it.
They don't need the money. They don't need us to make millions and millions of dollars. They just really want your presence.
Yes.
And that's the gift right there. And that's what I started learning. When I left my corporate job 4.5 years ago, I had endless freedom that I didn't know what to do with, right? I had been so used to conformity and structure and like checking the, basically like the assembly line. I was so accustomed to that that I didn't know what to do with my time. I felt like I was...
let's talk about that. So talk about that transition.
That was
amazing.
Kind of uncomfortable, and I think that's all part of the growth of this process is you got to put yourself in a position that's closer to where you want to be so you can really start to break those chains, like really get the monkey off my back, so to speak. And ultimately, Alisha and I talk about it. It's the letting go, it's the detoxing, it's the minimalizing. It's what that's doing is it's simplifying the vision that you have. It's simplifying how hard it is or how challenging it is to get to that light or that purpose, whatever people want to reference it as. And I think that started happening. And when it came to parenting and being open to what they have to say, and it's hard. You want them to do as you want at certain times based on how much sleep we got, based on if we're hungry. If we're hungry, we don't care. We just want them to do exactly what we said. And And having a spiritual partner with Alisha, she can elbow me when I get in those moments, those ego pride moments. She can just elbow me and say, hey, breathe through this. Just breathe through it. Well, basically let it come in and let it go out. It's okay that it happened. Don't have resentment or regret that you may have like raised your voice or gotten upset. But once we are able to remind each other, really get friendships and surround yourself with people that are getting to that level or are at that level where they can consciously understand how you're going in the wrong direction.
Yes.
And you can easily, literally, just like flipping a switch. And so that's another part of relationships. We carry all the baggage with us.
Yes.
So then if we're in a situation today, we carry the last 10 years of relationship into the situation. So we're not even like open or present.
You bring that entire past, you place the filter right in front of them, and then you're like, I see you through this filter.
Yeah.
And you don't really see them.
You're not even focused on them.
No.
You're thinking about the past, then you're thinking about what you've got tomorrow
Not to mention, you're thinking about protecting yourself.
Oh yeah, your
so
identity.
You can't even be with them because not only have you now placed the filter on them, but now with that filter, you're making sure that you're protected too. Like, I'm going to stay right. I'm not going to go over that line. And if I do, then I know this thing is going to happen. But you don't know that thing is going to happen.
You absolutely don't. What I believe is that our purpose is going to keep coming up. We may be able to we feel blow the candle out, but it's that candle like when you put on your kid's birthday cake and they blow it and it keeps you blow it out and it burns again and you blow it out. That's kind of like what our purpose is. It's going to keep reminding you like, hey, you're kind of going on the wrong path.
Right.
And that's what that anxiousness is. That's what that stress is and that anxiety, and that's like depression. It's carrying all of those things. So then it's just a matter of, it's so simple. It's like unplugging something and allowing that stuff to just get out of you and flow out of you. And I feel like that's what everybody should feel. That's what I felt.
So what would your advice be with somebody who is moving through this transition? How do they get from that tightness that you were describing to the release of letting go? What did you do? What was the trigger that said, okay, I'm going to shift this now?
I started changing what I put into me from a nutrition standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, from everything transitioned from, as I said, kind of the leadership, business-minded, American human form existence, like this is urgent, I need to multitask, to what I really wanted. And so from that point, the first thing was like the books I read, I changed. The message was different. It was actually touching a part of me that I didn't even know that was there. It's kind of like this hidden magical treasure within all of us that we have a lock on, and we can't open it until we actually tap into the spiritual growth.
Right. I love that. The hidden magical lock that you can't tap into. Awesome. And I bring this up because of these limitations, and those are the thought forms. So when a friend of mine actually watched Alisha's thing, and we were talking about her interview, and we were talking about, she's like, I'd love to do that, but I'll have to do it then. And I was thinking, no, do it now. And that's what we do. We say, I'll do that when. No, do it, plan it today. But we don't live in that world.
We don't.
We have been completely, I don't like to use the word controlled and slavery. I don't like to use all those words, but we have been conditioned to never leave where you are. The malls, all these strip malls, all of this, like all of these big, I don't even know what they call it, all the Target and the Best Buy, like they put them all in these neighborhoods so you never have to leave, so that you never go outside to see. You know, as we're sitting next to this beautiful tree and I'm looking at the grain of this oak tree, and as you were sharing what it was like when you guys went to Costa Rica and it's this breath of fresh air, it's a whole new landscape for you to look at. So when you have a whole new landscape to look at, it allows you to realize that there is a bunch of noise in here. Because see, when we get up and look at this is what we see every day, so it just becomes normal. It just becomes like what, just becomes like what you wear. You just put your shirt on. But now you're in Costa Rica where there's new sounds, new looking trees, new colors, different people. And so that almost, it's like, and if you allow yourself to be with that, you can remove all of you can begin to shed the conditioning.
Yes. Yeah. I heard in your message there something that we felt is, and this goes into the masculine discussion too, is slow down and not have to think about so many other things, because once you truly slow down and be able to embrace what's around you, then you find true happiness. True happiness in our definitional terms is like, a lot of money in the bank, lots of investments, our retirement is set. We got these nice cars, my kids' college is paid for, beautiful home. That for many can be happiness, but true happiness, at least what I found true happiness in, is when I became open enough to be detached from those things. Like basically that life that I may have thought, it died to me, because I was able to slow down, become a little more gentle with my thoughts. Not like what we think of gentle as in touch, like nothing like that, but truly be able to slow down enough to not have to think of those things. And then you see beauty in everything. You see beauty in your spouse, you see beauty in your friends, you see beauty in your children, you see beauty in the pennies at the bottom of the museum that just look beautiful. And for something that's perceed as non-value, a penny, right?
And
you can put it together.
That's a lot of value.
And that is so, we need to redefine, maybe in the sense of redefining and evolving masculinity, but also the term of happiness. And when we come to what we're talking about as couples and a relationship, is happiness is something that you choose in many ways. Just like the light switch, you can either be angry or you can be happy. And if you have a spouse that nurtures and supports and doesn't judge, more than anything, just doesn't judge you for being you. It's not like then you throw the expectations on them and the assumptions, and then you've created what your spouse should be. Versus just truly evolving together, letting it flow, not being attached to a certificate that says marriage, but being attached to the partnership, the inseparable partnership that brought you together, right? And that's what's so powerful, and that's what's really been, I would say, the most pivotal thing, is being open enough to be led by, not just by my wife, but what's within me, what feels natural, what I'm connected to, and not have to follow the story that was created before me about what dudes should do and how they should parent.
What dudes should do.
And so it's been what a journey. It's been incredible, and Costa Rica is truly the chapter of our next pages. I mean, it's we're filling the pages of, I guess you could say, the next chapter of our life, because it inspires a different mindset, your soul is in a different space, so your level of creation is so much more fluid. It's less interrupted, where you get a thought and then like something happens and you're distracted. 2 weeks later you're about to start writing a book and you got a sentence, and so there everything can flow, and when you can do it, you do it. And versus procrastination, which is what we do, is I'll do it later, I'll do it tomorrow, can we meet next week? It's a matter of do it when you can do them, and that's going with the flow. Something within you is like, hey, do this right now, and then you're like, nah, but I got to do this, and then I'll get to that. That's not as
And it's fear, right? Is it fear? It's fear that stops us from like living into those things. Like, let's just do it. Just go. Just pick up the phone and make the plan, put it in the calendar, take the first step.
Yes.
And then the universe will provide the opening for you to do it. But it's inside of a commitment. It's inside of a commitment. You know, I will tell you, and I'll say this quick analogy. So, as many of you know, this is all very much a new venture for me, and I left the corporate space and opened up my practice, but I've recently re-entered the corporate space while continuing my practice. But over the summer, I was transitioning through the financial aspect of that, and I was able to do a trip to Florida and a trip to California, coast to coast. And I didn't allow the fear to get in my way. I put the dates in my calendar, said, well, I guess it's happening. And the universe just opened up and made it such that I could to do these trips. And all the while, most people would look at my bank account and be like, I can't believe this woman is doing and living and doing what she's doing. But I was on that journey of breaking through those confines of, oh, well, I don't have X in the bank, or, oh, I don't have this, so I better wait. I was just saying, well, I don't know, God, how you're going to get me there, but I know I'm supposed to be there, so I'm just going to let you handle it. And it would work out. And I had the most extraordinary trips. And I share this because it was such a huge breakthrough for me to realize that nothing's gonna happen, but we really live like something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen if I do that thing, and I can't do that thing, not today. If I miss that call, if I'm late to that meeting, if I'm late to work, I'm gonna get fired.
It's fear-based.
Yes, like that is literally the world so many people live in. And so I think that's really also the context of Healing Adventures and what this is all about and why we're here talking with David. And I just love everything that you've been sharing today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Because it's about moving beyond the illusion of fear. It's about moving beyond the illusion of the conditioning and the molding and the structures that we've all like been boxed inside of, and knowing there's more beyond this. And as Alisha shared, she was willing to move through that feeling in her gut, because there was something in her gut saying, it's more than this. Keep going. And boom, when she made it to the other side, it was like, oh, well, this isn't as scary as I thought.
That's like how I felt a long time, and Alicia's still trying to coach me through, is maybe it's poverty mindset, maybe it's fear of abundance,
Poverty
maybe
mindset.
and that in our society, money is really so important, and we think about it when it's not something we're supposed to think about.
Right.
So we think, oh, I need to have all this money in order to do the things that I want, versus going with your feeling and understanding that money is kind of an illusion anyways. I'm going to go coast to coast, and I'm going to share whatever I'm going to share. I'm going to see whoever I want to see. I'm not going to let fear of not having enough in my account inhibit what's going inside of me, right?
Yes.
Because if you believe in your heart that you can attract abundance from a money standpoint to provide you the life that you live, then you're already past that.
Yeah,
you're already past
ahead
that.
of the game.
Yeah, I think money is I know I read a book called Top 10 Distinctions Between Millionaires and the Middle Class by Keith Cameron Smith. That was a book that was able to touch that side of my brain about removing the poverty mindset about money in general.
Okay.
So that's a short read. You'd probably read it in a few hours, but it's a reference that you can always pull back on when you go down that wrong path of like, I'm not doing this because I can't afford it, or I'm not doing this because I don't have the money, because you push your life off.
Yes.
You can't do that. You can't mortgage the time you have here on earth until you get a fatter bank account. That's just not going to do it.
It's not going to happen.
Don't wait to live to 65.
Your life will literally fly right by you, and you'll wake up one day and say, I missed out on so many amazing things.
That's what we're being led by, we're getting rid of the house, the cars, the things that we believe we need, but we don't need that. Let's go create.
Yes.
Let's go create something from our heart, and let that provide us whatever it's supposed to provide us, and not trying to control the situation or the outcome. I mean, that's part of how relationships are. We may create what we believe someone should be, and when they're not that person, we're out.
Right.
It's not working.
Right.
That means basically the commitment was done through something not deep within them.
It wasn't done from love.
Yep.
Oh my God, love that. So I also just want to, and then we'll wrap it up here, but I want to ask you, when you look at Alisha and you really look into her eyes and into her soul, who and what do you see?
Oh man, I see like a God. I really do. I see pureness and just authenticity and just love. Like everything within her is love. And that's actually the first thing that brought me to her, is when your eyes meet someone that's on a soul's journey that you're supposed to meet them. Think of like in this virtual world or a video game when they find that person. That's kind of what me and Alisha had right when I saw her. So the connection was to the soul, and then the rest was just wrapped around it. And so once I was able to talk to her,
just wrapped around it.
Once I was able to talk with her, I felt love, like instantly, something that I had never seen or felt in anybody. And it was interesting when I came home after meeting her, and I told my brother-in-law and my sister who I was living with, I said, I met my new wife today. And they're like, oh, what's her name? I'm like, I haven't got that far. Like I literally, she came, and that is what I've always felt. And then just going to Costa Rica and being able to see our growth and my me letting go, peeling the onion of my control and ego and all that I'm supposed to hold up, and knowing that she's going to love me through it all. She's already loved me before, during, and after. Her soul's purpose in this sense, and with us together, is to provide a loving and nurturing bond that's inseparable. We've got that. So I've always felt that. And so when I see her, I just feel love. It's not even in that sexual sense. That dudes are always thinking about that, right? And that's something also our culture helps to create.
Yep.
Whereas with Alisha,
stick it in front of you right from the very get-go.
Oh, and if you don't talk like that, and if you don't entertain like that, and everything isn't about sarcasm, and oh gosh, I'm so repulsed by like anything like derogatory. We can go on a tangent about that, but that is not my crew, man. Don't hang around with dudes that are talking bad about women, that are being vulgar, that are nurturing the chaos that we see in our world about how we exploit women. That could be a topic for a different thing, but that's got to change. That's our energy that we need to shed. That's old thoughts, old beliefs, old paradigms of how to be a guy and how to treat women. That needs to wash away, and that could send me on a different thing.
Yeah, we'll do another episode. We'll zoom that one.
But I love her, to answer your question.
Yes, you love her.
I love her on a deeper level than a certificate or anything. I've been blessed by her, and everything that she's provided others and that I have been able to observe and learn from, I'm so much more connected to her. We don't see these bodies. Like, when we look at each other, we truly aren't trying to impress the other person.
Right.
There's no impression needed.
Right.
None of this matters, right? She doesn't love me because I wear glasses and I'm funny, even though that helps, right? The jokes are good. But we can make fun of ourselves, and so she loves that level. But it didn't start with that, you know. And so we hope that all people that build a relationship, whether it's a romantic, a spiritual partnership, it could be your friend, it could be a colleague, it could be your children, it could be your parents, that you may have had a certain relationship with your parents up to this point, but that doesn't mean you have to carry all of that with you in your new relationship going forward. We can talk about, like, when you talk about holding on to the past and carrying things with you, like the whole, like, I will never forget types of things. It's like, okay, but you're mortgaging your life because of things that have already happened. They were there to teach you something then.
Yes.
You got to let it teach you, and you got to move on to the next step.
Amen.
You can't be carrying that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. That was awesome.
Just went on a couple tangents there.
No, it was good. That was good stuff. Good stuff.
It's such a good question. What do you think of when you see your spouse? And this isn't a compare. This is just my opening of a question of, like, how do men answer that question with their significant other? Are they listening to their heart say that? Or are they listening to their mind on what may sound cool or what they want to hear?
Oh, and that's what I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned earlier about, going to Costa Rica, peeling that layer of ego and dropping that. Talk more about that. Talk about that. Yeah, what that experience was, and what, if you're able to verbally describe that shell, if you're able to verbally describe what that shell was that you removed.
Oh, yeah.
To have you really get as heart-centered as you feel today.
No
climbing on the rocks and cliffs, please.
That was our next part of this. That what you just explained, I think, is something each and everybody struggles with at one point or another, and that's this shell of an ego that we encapsulate ourselves with. And I feel when you pour enough into you, and you're open enough, you're truly open enough to create change in your life, like been there, done that, not comfortable where I'm at, I don't want to be in this state anymore, whatever that state may be, but I feel like I need to go here. When you're open enough to take that initiative, you start to feel like the layers peeling off of you, and it's a feeling. It's going, ultimately it's riding the wave. You're not trying to go against the wave. You just got to ride the wave that's within you, because it's going to come up. It sounds crazy.
Yeah.
If I talk to my buddies like this, they probably think I'm crazy, but the cool thing about how God created me is that I've always kind of been crazy, the wild one, like the funny, spunky, like that was just DH. So it's not that they're surprised. Right. It's not that they're offended, like, oof, DH is really... They've always kind of knew something was different. That's probably what drew them to me, and that's probably what drew me to them. Right. And there's that balance, right? Yes. Typically, I find my greatest friends and my greatest relationships are people unlike me. They're quieter, they're more reserved, they're good listeners. And so, man, I think we went on a different tangent. How funny is that? Why is our mind, we work in these mysterious, one question can be like, okay, all right, let's reel that in. Let's reel it in.
That's what I love about this, is I like to have not like so much format as much as just allow spirit to, what are we talking about today? Because, I think that conscious relationships, really that's the topic, is it's broad. It's broad, and it takes many layers of the journey to get to the conscious awakening of that, to where we really can just allow, let go, and be.
Just be led by. Be okay being led by. It's use the metaphorical of like driving the car. There's someone else driving.
Be okay. What did you just say? Keep
just
going.
Metaphorically, be okay with not driving your car. Being led by. And I feel like if you can use the analogy of there's something driving us, but we're not used to being driven by. We're not used to something leading us.
Right.
Our ego is telling us we have to control the situation.
Right.
We are needed to control the situation.
Right.
And no, that's actually against flow. And then the symptoms that a human feels is tightness in chest or stomach, anxiousness, depression. You'll feel like this intensity in your head, and you're like, when you release it, you're like, whoa. And so baby steps are finding that quiet personal space where you close your eyes. You don't need a medication to get that process started. You just have to find a space that's not interrupted, that you've intentionally decided at that moment you were going to get centered. And we already do it in the real world. We just call it different things. Sometimes you see athletes, they go in the corner, or they sit and they breathe, or people may pray. They may get in that detoxification, truly getting away from their human body and just finding that centeredness. And I believe that the masculinity thing is tied into that. I just think that we need to be able to find our centeredness, be able to find some quiet place that we are not interrupted, that we are not trying to control the thoughts and the scenarios, and we make time for ourselves to do that. I mean, we already set an alarm, and we already have calendars with everything planned out. Why do we have a list of like 20 things, and finding personal time for 30 minutes is the last thing?
Because it's not about self-care.
And what we don't understand is if you just flip that and put first 20 minutes of my day is alone, what happens to the rest of the day, and how non-serious is it? All the other stuff.
There's a whole opening when you make yourself first in that first part of the morning. No, that's absolutely beautiful. I love that. So what advice do you have for those who feel and sense that tightness, and they feel, and maybe you've heard for yourself today in this interview, you feel your body at that breaking point. What's your advice to them to just taking that first step and trusting and letting go?
Oh man, I think I heard this from Wayne Dyer. He talks about the greatest love of all is what the air does to your lungs, right?
Ooh,
so
yeah.
so in those moments, it is something that we control. We're believing our most dominant thoughts in that sense, and all you have to really do is breathe deep a couple times and then speak thoughts of gratitude over and over and over and over and over again, and that could be a matter of 15 seconds.
That can change your day.
Changes the entire day, especially when we're with people that we may be taking our negative energy and throwing it on them. Could be our spouse or our kids. You know, we had rough situations during the day, so we throw it on them. In those moments, it could be doing a presentation in front of executives. It could be getting ready for an important meeting or a discussion or an interview. It's a matter of just finding some quiet right before those moments or in that moment, and knowing that the solution is within us. And it all starts with just closing your eyes, slowing down, breathing, and then thinking through the positive outcome of that situation you're in right there, breathing through the positive outcome, and then when you open your eyes and you reconnect, it's like, wow, I feel so much better. Now I can say the right thing, do the right thing, because I'm thinking with a clear mind. My ego isn't controlling the situation.
Yes.
I think that's crucial.
No, that's awesome. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. What else do you want to talk about today? Anything else?
Man, I think that was...
we kind of went on a bunch of areas.
I love it. I'm blessed. Thank you for allowing me to do this, because this is something I've started doing when I find my alone time. And my favorite place is in Costa Rica. You wake up, you hike down, and there's the La Machuca River that runs through basically the neighborhood. And it's almost like a private river, so it doesn't look like there's any debris. It's crystal clear. It's beautiful.
Oh my
These
God.
trees are
They
up
had
like
purple rain last week.
There was purple rain.
Yes.
And yes, look at Live Awake Costa Rica. They'll show you that.
They had purple rain, and Prince was there.
Yes. And
he was raining on y'all.
Yep. He can be there when you close your eyes. He can do all kinds of stuff. Finding that space has allowed me to speak. Even if I'm at the river by myself, I may just start talking. I'm being led by, I'm not trying to control it, and I'll just start talking about gratitude. And you don't have to think of what to say, because you're in a moment that you're being led by. You see the squirrels, you see the water flowing, and it puts you in this like, whoa, this deep relaxation and gratitude. You look at the birds, you hear the birds. And then just speaking it out, right? Or writing it out. If you write, everybody's got a story to tell. But many times I feel like we're keeping those stories within us because we're fearful of being judged about our stories. We're fearful of being our authentic self because we're trying to control the situation.
Yes. No.
Yeah, we need to not do that. People want to see who you really are.
They do.
Yeah.
I know. We want truth. We want authenticity. We want real.
Yeah.
Raw realness. Like, what are you going through? Because we're all going through something. I don't even care if you're freaking Oprah. She's going through something. We're all going through something. We are all here on this healing adventure. It's all a journey. You know, there's nobody in this world that's not moving through some transitional state and growing and bettering and being led by, you know, we're growing ourselves. So I just want to say thank you.
That was good.
So awesome.
Yeah, we're all connected, right?
Yes.
So you basically just said we are all, as a species, meant to collectively lock arms energetically and move together.
Move together. Absolutely. No, absolutely. So I just want to say thank you. I'm so honored. This was so much fun. Yes, thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Yes. And so, for those of you watching, I want to say thank you. And if you're new here, you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, ring the bell. That way you'll be notified when I post new postings. Also, any of the books that we talked about today, you guys will be able to find down below in the description box. You can go ahead and click the links and check those things out. But I want to thank you for being here and have an amazing day. Take care.